guys, good morning. Let's jump right into it. I want to cover two main points today. The first one is going to be how to be more satisfied with your meals, okay? And how you can eat more and still keep your calories low. And then the other thing I want to touch on is just kind of vaguely going over some of the popular diets that'll help you figure out which one might be the best one for you if there is one that you're thinking about trying or sticking to, okay? So first and foremost, you guys remember, for every gram of protein and carbohydrate we eat, you get 4 calories. For every gram of fat we eat, we get 9 calories. There you go, 9. Okay, so when we're looking at accumulating a certain amount of calories over the course of the day, fat calories are going to be, or excuse me, fat foods high in fat, geez Louise, are going to be very dense in calories, right? So remember, 4 calories per gram on protein, 4 calories per gram on carbohydrates, 9 on fat. 225% more, 2.25 times more calories for every 1 gram of fat. So what does that mean? That means that if I eat foods that are higher in fat, the amount of calories that I eat throughout the day are going to accumulate 2.25 times faster than if I were to eat foods that are higher in protein and carbohydrates. Now, this doesn't mean that you should cut out all fat, because fat does play a role in your body, and I'm not going to get into those details, but it just means that if you lower the amount of fat that you eat in your diet, you can compensate by having more carbs, more protein, and still staying lower in your calories, okay? So for those of you that think carbs make you fat, they don't make you fat, right? Accumulation of too many calories over the course of time makes you fat. But again, if you keep your fat low, you can eat more, right? So again, you can eat more food if you eat foods that are lower in fat. So those of you that are volume eaters, those of you that have big appetites, a low-fat approach might actually be pretty good for you, because again, you can eat just more food, right? You could put more food on your plate and still be able to keep your calories low, okay? That's the first one, the first point I wanted to cover. The second one, now, how to pick the diet that's going to be the best for you. Well, the best diet for you is going to be the one that you can stick to long term, right? But a few things I want you to take into account when you're looking at the different diets. If you're the type of person that loves carbs, keto's not going to be for you, okay? And the weight loss that we see in keto doesn't always come from fat. It comes from a drop in water, because every time you drop your carbs, your body cannot retain as much water. Therefore, the weight on the scale goes down. Now, can you lose fat on keto? Absolutely, right? But the fat loss from keto is going to be from creating a caloric deficit and not from cutting out carbs itself. There are plenty of studies out there that take 2 different groups, one on a high carb diet, one on a low carb keto diet with the same amount of calories, and they're actually seeing that the low fat, high carb group burned a little bit more fat than the high carb, or excuse me, high fat, low carb keto group. Now, I will say those numbers were pretty insignificant, right? So it's not going to be a big difference. In fact, you can pretty much say that they both burned about the same amount of fat. But the difference was the group that had high carb versus low carb was able to eat more food in terms of volume, right? Not in calories, volume, because the amount of calories that are in carbs are less per gram than you get with fat, okay? So again, if you're a person that loves carbs, keto might not be the best one for you, okay? If you're a person that loves to have breakfast and a late night snack, then intermittent fasting might not be for you, because intermittent fasting says that you only have an 8-hour window in which you can eat your calories. Now, let's look at the other side of the coin. You know, I'm the type of person that loves flavorful, savory foods, or maybe not savory, but flavorful foods that feel good in your mouth, right? This is what you get from fat. Fat has that nice silky feeling. It's where all the flavor comes from. And let's say you're the type of person that loves foods that have a lot of flavor and you don't care as much for carbohydrates, okay, then keto might not be a bad option for you, okay? And as far as intermittent fasting, if you wake up in the morning and you're not hungry and you're not the type that likes to eat breakfast, and same thing, you get home from work late and you're too tired to do anything, you don't want to eat, you just want to go to bed and rest. Again, intermittent fasting might not be a bad idea for you, because you can just accumulate all your calories in that 8-hour window from 12 to 8 or 10 to 6 or whatever it is, right? So again, you don't care for breakfast, you don't care for a late night snack, then yeah, try out intermittent fasting, because it just so happens that that's kind of the schedule you're on anyway, so it might work for you, okay? Those are the two really popular ones. Same thing with paleo. The thing with paleo is they not force, but they have you eat foods that are very high in fiber, and we know that fiber helps with satiety. So what ends up happening is you end up having a lot of fiber, and you're satisfied from the foods that you eat. Okay, now the trade-off is, if you want some sugary treats, paleo might not be for you, okay? Because they're going to cut out anything processed, anything sugar. And if you're the type of person that occasionally likes to have some processed foods, according to the paleo rules, you can't do that, okay? So again, if you just want to go all, legumes and vegetables and protein and super duper wholesome, because that's what you eat anyway, hey, there you go. Paleo might not be a bad option for you. Regardless of which one of these diets you choose, remember that the fat loss is not going to come from the diet itself. It's going to come from creating a calorie deficit, okay? And the way that keto creates a calorie deficit, they dump out a whole nutrient, right? No carbs. So you're left with fat, protein. With paleo, they stuff you full of foods that are going to make you super satisfied super quick, so you just don't have the option to keep eating because you're already satisfied. As far as intermittent fasting, well, they cut down your time frame, so you just don't have as much time to eat, and that's how you've created a deficit with that one. And the other one, that's just a low-fat approach. Well, with that one, you're just going to have to stay low in calories, but the good thing about that one is you can usually eat a lot more food, so the volume goes up, so you pretty much just fill the space in your stomach, and you're satisfied because, well, you just have a full stomach, right? So regardless of which one you choose, remember that the fat loss came from creating a caloric deficit and not from sticking to this particular diet, okay? All right, guys. Hopefully some good, helpful tips in here. If you guys have any questions about any of it, or you feel like I left anything out, by all means, message me, DM me, hell, call me. I'll be more than glad to help out, okay? Everyone have a good weekend, and I will see you on Monday.